Welcome back, everybody. We are now learning a nuclear-capable rocket that circled the globe took U.S. intelligence by surprise. A new report says that China tested a hypersonic missile in August, yet Chinese Foreign Ministry, it's denying that the test actually happened and said that it was, in fact, a reusable space vehicle. Joining me now with more, Congressional China Task Force member, Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin. Congressman, always great to see you. Is it acceptable for China to come out after this test that clearly happened and say, oh no, this was not a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile, it actually was a space test?
Well, it's unacceptable, but it's also unsurprising. I mean, what we've seen for the last 2 years is the Chinese Communist Party lying about the origins of the coronavirus pandemic, which has upended all of our lives. And so therefore, it should not surprise us that they're lying about their investments in nuclear technology. It's not just these missiles, it's silos they're building in the deserts. It's a variety of military modernization items that show us that we are losing right now this new Cold War with communist China. And so it's unacceptable to allow this to happen. We can't allow ourselves to fall further behind. And this should be a wake-up call. This should be a wake-up call not just to the national security community, the defense community, but to the American people about the type of threat we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a genocidal communist regime that will stop at nothing to undermine American leadership and power and threaten our allies. And that should worry all of us simply as American citizens.
Yeah, October 2021, that's where we are now, getting through this pandemic, but still having a lot of problems as we've been outlining on this show. And so you say to yourself, former President Trump, whether you loved him or you hated him, he took a tough stance when it came to China. He would have looked for accountability when it came to the virus. Why hasn't there been any?
Well, there's a few possible explanations. One is that the administration, the Biden administration, is so firmly committed to getting a climate change agreement with the Chinese Communist Party that everything else is being subordinated to that effort. And therefore, they don't want to criticize the CCP on these other issues because John Kerry is going around the world telling people we need a climate change agreement with China. That is probably the most obvious explanation. And there's no question if you look at their reconciliation bill, their proposed infrastructure bill, climate change is their overriding priority. Now, the irony is that any agreement with China on climate change would not be worth the paper it's printed on. They're increasing coal production. They're having an energy crisis.
If I may, I laugh at that, right? I laugh at that goal because you think about China, they are the biggest offender when it comes to climate change issues. And if you can't take a tough stance on them, on the other issues, you're not going to get them to stop polluting.
100%. And I worry about maybe an alternative explanation. Is that, you have cabinet secretaries out there saying we don't have the moral authority to criticize China. I think there's a strain of thinking on the far left that suggests, you know what? Why should America be lecturing any other country, including a genocidal communist regime? Because America is an evil, racist hellscape that has no moral authority. Now, obviously, anyone who was born in this country, and certainly people that have immigrated legally to this country, understand that it's the greatest country in the history of the world. But there is that minority that I think is driving thinking on the left and undermining American leadership in the process.
I hear you, and you're right. When it comes to the agenda of the radical left, they don't care if China's #1, if we lose our standing as a superpower. China has told us that's what they're doing. They are gunning for the United States.
Yeah, you really just need to take what General Secretary Xi Jinping is saying at his word, and in particular, the importance of Taiwan for his legacy. It's my view that after the CCP pockets a massive propaganda victory by hosting the Winter Olympics in Beijing in early 2022, Xi will get increasingly aggressive when it comes to Taiwan. Unification of Taiwan with the mainland is a legacy issue for the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, and he will stop at nothing to realize that goal.
I think you're right. Congressman Gallagher, good to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.